There we go. So that's
All
the
set?
crew. This is our AgEcon class. So we've learned a little bit about supply and demand and markets, and we've done some stuff with business operation, finance. So any wisdom you'd be willing to share, we would love, or if you have a presentation or anything, like whatever you got.
I do.
Wait.
All right. Yeah, could you enable sharing and then?
Yes, I can. I'm sorry, I forgot to do that.
That's all good. I do that all the time. Can you hear me okay, by the way?
We can.
Okay.
All right, you are now co-hosting.
Sweet. All right. And I'm going to assume you can see that okay?
Yep.
All right, cool. Well, thanks everybody for the time. I really appreciate it, and happy Friday. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. My name is Daniel Peterson. I'm a marketing director at United Healthcare. I'm a graduate of the U of M at the CFANS College of 2008. And I'm also on our alumni board of directors and an alumni connector, which basically means that I get to do fun stuff like this, which is chat with you folks. So thanks for having me. Today's chat, I really want to kind of go through three things. I'll take you through my career journey from high school to how I ended up at United Healthcare. I'll share some things and themes I've learned along the way, and then just a few things about CFANS that are kind of my observations and opinions. They're not talking points that the college has given me, so just kind of my thoughts on the college, and hopefully some of them may be relevant to you. If not, just enjoy some PowerPoint. Okay, so career journey. How did I end up at the U? I grew up on a small 10-acre hobby farm in Minnetrista. We had sheep, goats, horse pastures, chickens, and things like that. And then I worked at Minnetonka Apple Orchards for a season or two in like the brat tent and the U-pick. And then from freshman through senior year, I worked at a Culver's restaurant and really enjoyed those experiences, and still friends with some folks I met during that time. And so I was kind of thinking, hey, you know, I have this agricultural food Minnesota background. I think I should, you know, study this thing called agricultural marketing at the U. I didn't get in right away. I really struggled with my ACTs. So I spent a couple semesters at Southwest State and worked up a GPA to get into the U. But once I got in, my plan was to work for Cargill, right? So again, food and egg background. They're the largest privately held agricultural company in the world and based in Minnesota. So all those things seem to make sense. But when I graduated, I actually ended up taking a job at General Mills. So still definitely a food company, right? So consumer packaged good company. And that's where I started. And I had three main positions at the U, or I'm sorry, at General Mills. My first job was in sales. So think temperature brands like Yoplait and Pillsbury biscuits. And this job was about relationships with account teams that I was responsible for, as well as logistics. So General Mills makes a lot of its money through economies of scale. And one of the ways they do that is through the most efficient way to move product around the country. So think of a high degree of relationship skills and then analytical skills in terms of what's the right way to ship yogurt from California to Hawaii, right? So we're thinking through space and size and speed to get product around the most efficiently to protect those economies of scale. I was in this role for almost 4 years and really wanted to work in marketing, which took about 2 years or so of trial and error, but finally got through. And in the marketing division, I was a marketing analyst in the meals division. So think like Betty Crocker potatoes, Hamburger Helper, Old El Paso, Progresso soups. My job was largely on the potato business. So those two potato boxes there were my first two launches that I got to bring to market, and it was a cool feeling going into a grocery store and seeing your potatoes on the shelf. So this role was also highly analytical in terms of measuring how many consumers are buying potato products at Walmart or Super Value, as well as developing new brands to bring demand to those categories. And then my last role was as a marketing associate on channel innovation. So for companies like Costco and Sam's Club that charge a membership fee, they want unique brands and products that you can't get everywhere. So our job was to come up with unique things for those two retailers. And so I was at General Mills for about 7 years, and I could either continue on in the company or go back to graduate school, but chose to look elsewhere and applied for a job at Best Buy. So a whole different industry, right? This is a retail company. And when I interviewed, a couple of the folks that were leading this team had come from General Mills. So it was an opportunity to kind of have a connection between companies. And so the first job was an associate marketing manager on a brand growth team. And we launched a wedding registry program. So this is when you get engaged and you go register for products. This is a way for brands to create long-term connections with people, given that it's a moment in your life that's pretty important. And folks generally go on and spend quite a bit of money with retailers that they register with. And so it was about kind of bringing in new, younger customers to Best Buy. My next job was as a marketing manager on our membership team. So Best Buy has a loyalty program called My Best Buy. So think like an Amazon Prime. They have 80 million members, and this job was to launch a student deals program. So again, a way to market to younger customers and create a relationship with them early. This is a program where if you are going to college or in college, you can sign up for this and get unique coupons each month. So I encourage you to go out and check that out if you want. June, July, and August are when the best deals come out. And then my last role was as a marketing manager on our brand team, where we relaunched the Best Buy brand, different logo, different talking points. And this job was about figuring out how to re-engage and retain active customers. So think of, instead of trying to sell X amount of laptops, it's trying to engage X amount of customers and get them to come back to Best Buy because maybe they haven't shopped with us in a year or so. And then around this time, I got an email from a recruiter at United Health Group and thought that would be an interesting industry to check out. So about little over 2 years ago, I went to United Health Group and as a senior marketing manager on a team called Member Engagement. And so UHG owns United Healthcare, which is an insurance company, and Optum, which is a pharmacy, bank, and clinical company. So we get to work on both. And so our whole job is about trying to improve member experiences and outcomes in an industry that desperately needs more empathy and attention focused on consumers. And so everything we do is around empathy and in trying to improve ways in which people use the healthcare system and try and use it in a way that is the most cost effective for them. My next role was as an associate marketing director, and this was around launching some new financial products. So paying for healthcare can be very hard, very confusing. And so we've developed some new type of debit cards and other instruments that people can not just pay for care, but find the best, cheapest care and use these cards at those locations. And then as a couple months ago, I'm now a marketing director on the member experience team, and we're working on launching our first ever mobile health plan. So this is an app that is basically your health plan that's with you all the time. And no matter what kind of care you need, you'll start with this app, and you'll have a personalized care team that will help you with whatever issue or question you may have. And what I love about it is that it's going to be much, much more affordable than current health plans out today. So it's one of the best of both worlds, where it's more convenient and less expensive for consumers. So I think the takeaway from this slide for you guys is really to dream big. I'm a probably average to below average student who struggled with ACTs, who struggled in college with a variety of courses. And on paper, this looks like I just kind of jumped through company to company, but it definitely had its share of ups and downs. And I'll kind of talk through what those themes are on the next slide. But I think the takeaway is that no matter what you want to do, as long as you don't give up, you can get there. So some things I've learned. The thing that's interesting about whether it's at General Mills where you're trying to sell potatoes, or a retail company like Best Buy where you're selling laptops, or the healthcare industry where you're trying to engage with folks about using the healthcare system in a more cost efficient way, everything we do starts with data. No matter what the business problem is, we always start with data. And I can tell you from somebody who took college algebra at least twice, I'm now a data fanatic, a data nerd. I love it. I love math, and every good marketer I know also does too, because somewhere deep in the numbers is the truth. And so that's what we're trying to find. And so what we do is we take a lot of raw data and figure out what's happening, and we turn it into a storing strategy. And so it's kind of this leap of critical thinking to go from left to right to find out what those observations and recommendations are and express them through graphs and charts and copy in a way that a leader can make an educated decision. And then again, no matter what the company, you take that storing strategy and you collaborate and communicate and work with a cross-functional team to bring something to market. So this example is a Betty Crocker recommendation we had. And so you take your storing strategy and you have to work with your marketing leadership team. You then have to work with your finance team, your sales teams, account team. So think like the folks working at Walmart, logistic, plant team, all these folks, you have to somehow kind of collaborate and convince them that this is the right strategy. And it takes effective communication and relationship building. But the takeaway from here is what I like about marketing is that you get to work in the arts and sciences. So definitely sciences in the data in terms of analytics and modeling, and the math that goes into figuring out what we're trying to do. And then the sciences, or I'm sorry, the arts of expressing those recommendations. And again, this is thematically consistent no matter what industry you're in. Some important themes I've learned. Like I mentioned, the career path was not easy. And there was many moments along the way where, someone was telling me that I wasn't good enough for a role, or that I wasn't meeting expectations, or that I shouldn't consider applying to a job because I'm not right for it. Many moments along the way where it didn't look good. And so the takeaway here is that the only thing I didn't do was give up. And so resilience is really a superpower that I think we all have, and that it's up to you if and when you need to call it quits. And so far I haven't, and I would say that's the main reason I've been able to move from company to company and continue to grow my career. And then the nice thing about going through those ups and downs is that it creates perspective. And so once you've kind of gone through some tough times, you look back on those with a healthy perspective, and they enable you to appreciate more the next opportunity you get. And so that's a really healthy thing to have, as well as thinking about, yes, I'm struggling, in a college algebra class or my job at General Mills, but I have water and I have heat and transportation. So relative to some of the other experiences people have in the world, it's important to have that perspective. And then relationships is the third one. A lot of people use the word networking, but I like relationships because it's about actually creating connections with people. So through each company, there's been people I've gotten to know, admire, and continue to have relationships with, and they've helped me in ways that I never thought possible. So it's important to think about that. So those are the three themes I've learned. A few things about CFANS, and again, these are my observations and opinions, not from the school. So I think they may be important or relevant to you. So if not, no big deal. But these are just kind of my thoughts. One is environment is critical, and so what I found to be really important about the U and the CFANS is you get to be around other people passionate about their potential. And this is not just about, wanting to have a great career. It's also about how you want to treat other people. And so I found CFANS to be an environment where you get to be around a lot of just good people who care about issues and other people and wanting to really push themselves. And I found that to be incredibly important in getting me through, classes that were really hard or moments that were, really hard to continue to move forward. So environment is really important, and it's a good place. The second is CFANS is tackling macro long-term issues. So when you think about a lot of the issues of the day and things on the news and things that concern us, CFANS is really developing and doing research and creating curriculum that is attempting to solve these things. So when you think of like climate and the environment and food, sustainability, conservation, applied economics and nutrition, like these things are really going to be important for not just Minnesota, but for a lot of the world. And I want to highlight the applied economics program here. This is something that if I could go back, I would have probably wanted to take some more classes here, because whether you're at General Mills trying to work on commodity pricing, which is important for their ability to make money, or I think about Best Buy and they're trying to model audiences and talk to the right people, or I think about healthcare and we're trying to engage with a whole group of people that are different based on their demographics and socioeconomic status. Or I think about a Target, right, or an Amazon, who are trying to figure out supply chain in this new era of online shopping. This applied economics program is really a great foundation to be able to tackle those issues. And every job I've had along the way, I'm working with analysts and people who basically know how to do this and find data and provide it to us in a way that we can make good decisions. And so I just want to highlight that that's a really cool program that I think is super important and would set you up for pretty much any direction you could go in a career, whether you wanted to go into marketing or go back to graduate school, what have you. So a lot of good stuff happening at the college, I think, is important. The third thing is the U is a national brand, and the Twin Cities are quite unique. And these are kind of two things. The U as a national brand is, my observation here is that I work with a lot of folks from the U who have pretty interesting backgrounds in terms of what degree they got. So my best friend at United Healthcare, her degree is in nutrition from the U. My digital vice president has a degree of ethics from the U. My wife has a degree of art history. She's a buyer at Target for the U. My director at Best Buy, he has a degree of chemistry from the U. My vice president has a degree of sociology from the U. So I can go on, and it's just what it tells you is that no matter what you kind of learn or study, it sets you up for a pretty broad opportunity, no matter what direction your career takes you. And then the other part is around the Twin Cities are quite unique. And this is about the metro area is pretty bizarre in terms of its collection of Fortune 500 companies. So for whatever reason, and there's lots of opinions on this, but the Twin Cities ranks number one in the United States in terms of companies per capita. And if you look at this globally, the only places that have more companies per capita are like Paris and London, and then the Twin Cities. So it's an outlier, right? So it's ahead of New York, we're ahead of Chicago, we're ahead of LA, we're ahead of all these places. And so it basically gives you a really wide net to go and explore different companies or different things you might be passionate about, whether it's a Target or Land Lakes or energy. I mean, you can pick whatever you'd like to do, and those opportunities are very close to you, both from an internship perspective and then as well as out of school. I work with a lot of folks who've kind of bounced around each of these places, and you get a pretty cool experience in terms of what you can go and do. And at no time when I was applying to Best Buy or United Healthcare or any of the jobs that I didn't get along the way. No one asked, you have a degree in agricultural marketing, why do you want to work, at Best Buy? It's that's never been the case. And so I think that just ladders back that people think the U is a great place. And so they are happy to talk to you. But in any event, Twin Cities, very, very unique compared to other surrounding cities. And I think that's something that we don't do a good enough thing talking about in general as a state. So know that it's a really, really unique place. That's it for slides. This is some more information. If you want to look at CFANS, it's umn.edu. There's also the second link is around finding other connectors. So if you didn't like my presentation and you want to talk to someone else, there's other folks that you can definitely find and they'll help you out. And then this is my personal email address. So if you have any questions or want to chat about anything, anytime, I'm more than happy to chat with you. So that's my slides. Again, go Gophers. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Or if, Joe, if there's other topics around any of these companies or things relative to your classroom and curriculum that you want me to ask, I'm happy to chat about that too.
Thank you. Did anyone have any questions to get? Dayton, do you have one? Okay, what is it? Someone asked how old you are. You don't have to answer that if you don't want, but it's Dayton,
I'm 36.
So, okay.
Dayton, I'm 36.
All right. Sounds good, Mark. Were you, I'm just curious, were you involved in any organizations at the U when you were there?
God, that's a great question. It's one of the things I regret the most is I didn't do more extracurricular things at the U, and there's a ton of them. And the reason is because I'm kind of an introvert and shied away from those things, but I actually found that I had to kind of learn how to advocate for myself and network, and it's hard, and those opportunities really set you up just in terms of the right way to introduce yourself or to talk to people about what you're doing. I really wish I would have done a lot more of that. I kind of had to learn that on the job, and it definitely was something I struggled through.
Anyone else have any questions for him? Yeah. Does anyone besides Dayton have a question? Because we only have a few minutes left, so I want to make sure anyone who hasn't gotten to ask one who has a question. Kenzie, do you have one?
Did anyone tell you that you can't do this?
Oh, she's asking did anyone along the way, I think you alluded to this earlier, but they were asking, did anyone tell you you wouldn't be able to get where you are or was negative?
Yes. Yeah. So the sales job to marketing, I applied for 19 different jobs over 2.5 years. And a lot of folks along the way said, this is not going to happen. You're not good enough. You're not doing a good enough job in your current job. So yeah, that happened quite a few times. And then even when I was at Best Buy, there was, a lot of feedback that I wasn't meeting expectations. And so those were just those moments where I could have said, I quit. I give up. I'll just stick in sales. But I didn't give up. And that's really the key takeaway, is that I just took those moments to, as honest feedback and just try to improve myself.
Well, Daniel, we only have about 30 seconds left as a class,
Okay.
so I don't want people to be packing up if you were in the middle of a comment. So I think we'll end there if that's okay. But
of course.
I really appreciate it, and I'll send you an email afterwards. So
cool.
Thank you very much.
All right. Absolutely.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.